Hello everyone, you're welcome back to this channel. My name is Kumtatsan, and we'll continue with the types and components of a computer system. In this video, we'll look at the types and we'll look at operating systems. So in this, that's under chapter 1. Continue with operating systems. We're continuing from the previous video. If you don't have it, I'll put the link is under this video. You can always go back to watch it. In the previous video, we talked about hardware, software. We talked about the main components of the computer and described them, and also talked about basic comparison between input and output. We also compared internal and backend storage. So you could the link will be under here. You can always watch that video. So for operating systems, the first thing is, what are operating systems? Basically, they are software that run in the background of a computer and manage what basic functions of the computer. So for instance, what I'm doing now, it has been enabled by the operating system. So the operating system is just running in your background, but it allows for a lot of things. It manages what I'm doing. It manages my communication with my computer, as we will see later. So some examples of operating systems are Windows, we have Mac OS, we have Android, we have Linux and the rest. But now there are some very important things the operating system does in the computer which makes it very important and necessary. Now, what are some of these things? The first one is it allows you to communicate with your computer. So it allows communication between the user and the computer, which is what I'm doing now, which is what gives you the ability to type, do things, and see them on your computer. Secondly, it controls input, output, and backend storage operations. Thirdly, your operating system helps in controlling the loading, running, and storage of application programs. So if you want to install, let's say, Microsoft Word or Office, it will be the operating system that will help you to do that. If you want to download something online, it's all controlled by the operating system. Next, the operating system deals with errors that occur in application programs. So if you are doing something, probably you are trying to edit a photo, so if an error occurs, your operating system will help to prompt you, and then all those things. If other situations that arise, your operating system helps you in dealing with such errors. Also, the operating system has to maintain security in whole computer system. Uh, Ideally, most Windows computers come with like Windows Defender. That is a security feature just to guard you against some malwares and the rest. So the operating system helps to maintain the security, lets you know if you have a virus infection, at times tells you when to update and those kind of things. So that is you making sure your computer is secured. And lastly, the operating system keeps a detailed log or computer usage. So whatever you're doing with your computer over time, the operating system keeps track of that. Now, for you to use a computer, you need what we call a user interface. Me being able to see my computer now, and you also to see whatever you're doing or listening to from your end, it's with the help of a user interface. So user interface allows communication between the user and the computer. So basically, we will be focusing on the four main type of user interfaces: the command line interface, CLI, the graphical user interface GUI, dialog-based user interface, and gesture-based user interface. This is CLI, this is gesture-based, this is GUI, and this is to represent the dialog base. For command line, you need to learn a lot of commands, programming, and all those things to do certain things. For dialog base, you speak, the computer listens and does certain things. The GUI, you just click on icons like on your phone and apps are opening up. You make calls and the rest. Gesture based, you have to do some movements. Um, yeah, you have to do some movements for certain activities or actions to be taken. So going more deeply, we find that command line interfaces. Some major features of them is that you need, as a user of it, you need to learn a lot of commands to carry out basic operations. To open an app, to select from a menu and all those things, you need to type commands. One major key feature of the command line interface is the user is in direct communication with the computer, which is why most of these CLIs are used by hackers or programmers and all those things. Then another point you need to know is CLIs use very little computer space, so computer memory, so making them they'll be much faster to for them to process whatever you want them to do. Next, the next user interface is a graphical user interface. Simply, it allows communication between you and the computer with the help of icons. Your phone, you just press on something and something opens up. You click on an app and immediately opens up. You click on a call kind of icon, you dial a number and you can make a phone call. So that is it. With dialogue-based user interface, um, it's like your Google Assistant, Siri, and those kind of things. So you speak and you give commands, and a system does something for you. For instance, in cars, you could there's some automated cars you can give commands to wind down the glass and all those things. That even driverless cars now you can give commands for things to happen. And they also have automated home systems where you could enter your house, maybe you say something, your lights turn on, you say something, your AC is on, and all those things. So those are all dialogue-based user interfaces. Now, gesture-based user interface. This one, you will need to have a computer with a good camera. So probably when you move your hand, it uses computer vision and image processing. So it needs to see and it needs to see some movement. So maybe moving of a hand, you wave and it does something. Maybe you nod your head and it does something depending on how it's programmed. So that's how the gesture-based user interface uh, basically works. Now we can compare CLI to GUI, as well as we can also compare gesture-based to dialogue-based user interface. You could compare, I mean, any two of them together. It all depends on the requirements. So a question could always come up for you to compare any of the two. So basically, you could give a description of them, the advantages and disadvantages. For CLI, the major advantages are you're in direct communication with your computer. It uses little computer space. Disadvantage, you need to learn many commands. That is tedious tasks to do. And it takes a lot of time to complete simple tasks. That's the problem with the CLI. GUI, user does not need to learn any commands. This is a GUI. I'll just click on Google Chrome and it opens up. Click on Gmail, it opens to my emails. Programs can be accessed by simply clicking on icons. That's what I was just showing. That is an advantage. Disadvantage uses up a lot of computer space. Yeah. So when you install the operating system like Windows, it will take up quite some space in your computer, in up to gigabytes. Also, the user is restricted to only icons on screen. So the only thing you can do most often is just to click and use what I've given you. But here with the CLI, you can actually get into the system and reconfigure one or two things. So that makes it very advantageous to some people, those who know how to actually do those changes. Now, the next thing is for us to compare the dialogue-based interface and gesture-based interface. So with these two interfaces, the dialogue-based interface, for instance, its advantages are it's very helpful to the disabled people, for disabled people. You don't need any physical contact to work with this one. All you need is just to speak audibly and say the right commands, and whatever needs to be done will be done. Then voice recognition can be used on. So such systems are used in security system, as I said. So you could automate your security system so that when you speak, appropriate action is taken. Um, under the about the disadvantages for your dialogue-based interfaces, you see that you need to learn and only use acceptable commands. It's not just anything you say that the interface would do. Just for instance, if you go to Google Assistant, that things you say and you won't be able to do. So there's some sort of limitation there. Then the words of speech must be very clear. So that is another issue. And at times you need to repeat words over and over for the computer to, for the interface, for the system to understand. Going to the gesture-based interface, it also has its advantages like you don't need to learn any commands. You can easily access the program by clicking on icons. And a disadvantage would be that unintentional movement, since it's gesture based, can be picked up. So maybe you don't want to actually for it to pick up, but it will pick it up because you moved. Um, Also, the user need to be very close to the system to work where it uses a camera for image processing. So your face or whatever needs to be clearly visible for it to react to accordingly. Now, this is a sample exam question. So there's a computer operating systems have developed since early computers use command line interface. Many computers now use graphical user interfaces, some of which are capable of using touchscreen technology. Compare and contrast CLI and GUI. Compare and contrast. Compare and contrast simply means you should give what? Differences and similarities. A difference like CLI, you need to learn a lot of commands. GUI, you don't need to learn any commands. Another difference could be CLI, you use less computer memory compared to GUI. That's a very good comparison. Next, you could go further to say um, GUI are more user friendly. As you need to just click on command, I simply click on icons compared to CLI. So that is another difference. If you want to talk about similarities, you could go both are what? Operating system or user interfaces. They are both user interfaces, and or you can go on like that till you get 8 points. You need 8 points to get 8 marks. That's how the exam is marked. So this is a sample answer extracted from a mark scheme. So any of these points here, but always in this kind of questions, if it's let's say compare and contrast 8 points, make sure you give at least about 5 or 6 differences, and then probably 2 or 3 similarities, because the differences are more than the similarities. So, but make sure you give both of them should appear. So you must have similarities and differences. One can always outweigh the other. So always have that in mind, and give short points, short, clear, and concise points. So uh, that will be good. Now, the other aspect of this chapter or the next objective is types of computers. Basically, we are going to be looking at 4 main types of computer: desktop computers, laptop, tablets, smartphones. So this is a desktop, laptop, tablet, and smartphones. Probably, if you are a curious type, you should know there are supercomputers, quantum computers, mainframes, and the rest. They have their own applications, they have their own uses. I think in the previous syllabus, mainframes were included, but this 2023, looking at the syllabus, some things have been reduced and some introduced. So, if you want to read more, you can always do that. Now let's look at each of these computers individually, its advantages and disadvantages. Generally, a desktop is what? A general purpose computer with a separate monitor, system unit, keyboard, and mouse. So that's what makes a desktop a desktop. We mainly use it where office environments, education, gaming, and the rest. That's where we mainly use desktops. Now, what are some advantages of desktop? It's easy to find spare parts of desktops. They sell keyboards almost everywhere. You can have better specifications for your keyboard. So, better specification at a given price compared to a laptop. So I can get a desktop for maybe a better desktop for the same price. I'll get a laptop. So my desktop will be better than this laptop in terms of performance. It's also easier for you to upgrade your desktop compared to your laptop. So you can change your video card, your RAM, and the rest. But here it's not that easy. Now, for the disadvantages, we see that the desktop, it's not portable. You cannot carry it around. So it's always in one space. Also, it takes up much space. And another point would be that separate parts need to be connected with cables. And cables come with hazards. You can trip on a cable and fall. So that is also a disadvantage. Next, now moving on to laptops. A quick description of a laptop will be that it's a computer where you have the monitor, mouse, keyboard, and processor in one single unit. That is what we have here. So it has the main features: low power consumption. Yes, it has a lightweight, produces less heat. So a disadvantage for desktop could also be that it produces a lot of heat. So advantages of laptops: they are very portable compared to desktop. No lagging wires that can cause hazard. Take up less space. And disadvantages: they are sometimes difficult to use. Some people find it difficult to use. The keyboard is kind of stringed together. The keys are kind of packed. It's it's not ergonomically friendly. It's not easy to upgrade a laptop. So that is also a disadvantage. Now for a tablet, simply, tablets are just mobile computers with all components in a single unit. A key thing you need to know about tablet is the keyboard is a virtual keyboard on the screen. So you use the touch screen to type or do whatever entry you need to. And also, tablets make use of 3G, 4G, or 5G technology, and they can easily connect to Wi-Fi as well. So some tablets make use of SIM cards, while others rely solely on Wi-Fi. Now, what are some advantages of tablets? They are very portable. They have long battery life. They generate little heat. You can use several apps, and they have built-in camera, MP3 players, etc., which is not the case in most desktops. So that these are advantages to this type of computer. Disadvantages: the tablet has a limited storage memory. Also, the touch screen is difficult typing with the touch screen, so it's error prone. So that's also a disadvantage. Now, if we go to smartphones, which almost everybody has, a smartphone is simply a mobile computer which allows you to make phone calls, messaging, fast internet connectivity, emailing, playing music, photos, and a lot of other things. Generally, smartphones come as Android, iOS, Windows, and probably others, but these are the main uh, operating systems you will find in smartphones. Also, ideally, smartphones they make use of SIM card, or yeah, you hardly see them relying solely on Wi-Fi, or some they use satellite technology. So, they are rely on satellite. So these are some key features of smartphone. Now, what are the advantages? Obviously, very small in size and lightweight, so you can carry them around easily. Another advantage is you can use them for calls, messaging, emailing, and the rest. So that is also an advantage. Disadvantages: their small screen, kind of difficult to use. Surfing, the battery actually easily drains. That's if you are surfing the web. And the smaller memory size of phones compared to laptops is also a disadvantage. Now, let's quickly look at this question on the types of computers. So, the number of different types of computers, write down the type of computer that best fits the following descriptions. A computer that is difficult to move and has a separate monitor and keyboard, desktop. A portable computer that includes a physical keyboard, that is a laptop. A thin portable computer that has a touch screen and a battery in a single unit, not normally used to make phone calls. Tablet. A tablet is not normally used to make phone calls. Just in rare cases where you find a tablet with a SIM card. A mobile phone that can be used as a computer, obviously smartphones. Now, the last part of this chapter is emerging technologies and their impact on our daily life. The first emerging technology we'll be looking at is AI. So, what is AI? AI is basically artificial intelligence. So, AI is a machine or application that stimulates or mimics human intelligence. So a machine, here we're talking about something like a robot. We've probably heard of robots like in places like Japan and other areas, serving in restaurants as, I'm sorry, in hotels or other areas as attendants. Then robots has also been programmed and automated to intelligently work in places like car factories and other industrial areas. Robots are also deployed to do space explorations, so they can do dangerous tasks that humans cannot do. So these are some benefits of using AI and such system. I don't know if you also heard of this software or some form of application, AI-based kind of application that was created, I think Deep Blue, to play chess with humans, and was really, really smart. So those are just some area things, the capabilities of AI or its impacts on our daily lives. So they also use it in weather forecasting, temperature control, and many others. So that is AI. As I was saying, you could find AI being used in driverless vehicles. They use it in robots, as I earlier say, dangerous things like spray welding. So there are things that if a human does, maybe that can cause death because some of the sprays are really harmful. So they also help in medicine. There are some surgeries and high precision surgery. So robots also help with that. Those are robots with AI, that kind of AI advanced features. Then the major drawback or the major effect of this robot on us as humans, which is a negative effect, is loss of jobs. Some people lost jobs because of this robot. Automation generally creates loss of jobs, which is why it's very important to learn and understand this ICT and see why you need to be IT or ICT literate. It's very important. No matter what you'll be doing, you need this knowledge. So you should really take it seriously. Either you focus on controlling the robot or or producing the robots themselves. That way, you always stay in the job. Now, the next emerging technology is biometrics. And simply, biometric is a technology that uses some body parts, so like our fingers, eye, face, and all those things for identification by recognizing parts unique for an individual. Your fingerprint is unique to you. The way your eye is kind of is also unique to you. Your face, the shape of your face, the configuration is quite unique to you. So that is what biometric uses for identification purposes. So we have fingerprinting. If you get your phone, most phones have fingerprints, some in front, some at the back. Facial recognition, some face phones use facial recognition to grant you access. Some places people secure their, like in banks or safety deposit boxes in banks. Some people secure theirs with I don't know, to get access to the room. Most of the time the bank managers will have to do some form of facial recognition or eye recognition where their iris is scanned. Some people they do thumbprint, some the whole palm and the rest. All of these things are biometrics, and these are useful things, and they are helping to advance the society and make things much easier and secure for us. The next emerging technology is extended reality. This one is an immersive technology, so it creates a blend of a virtual world and our real world. So it's kind of two worlds. One is virtual and one is real. So, or in another case, it creates an entirely fully immersive world. That one you're completely out of here. So, for instance, here you could be under extended reality. We have things like virtual reality. These are virtual reality goggles. I don't know. Probably he's playing. This man is playing a game. So you could actually play games as you could use things like virtual reality headsets, the goggles, the gloves, and you can use these items for hearing, seeing, feeling. So if you're playing like a game, or you can actually feel the vibrations, the impacts with the gloves and all those things. So it's I mean, the feeling is quite good if you use this uh, virtual reality hardware or devices. Now, what is of importance here is how does this extended reality or virtual reality, how does this emerging technology help to improve our lives? Firstly, in education, some schools now are using virtual reality for education to make things more fun and much enjoyable. So I don't know whatever they're doing here, whether they're drawing things in the air or what, but the feeling is quite good if you are able to try that. Virtual reality is also used in medicine, entertainment, like yeah, as I was saying, gaming. You could watch a movie with the goggles. It puts you in a virtual world. It's like you are present there. So it's quite different, and another area could be in business or sports. So these are different areas where extended reality could be used. Finally, I think the final emerging technology we'll look at is augmented reality. Um, Augmented reality basically it allows a user to experience a relationship between a virtual and a real world by overlapping virtual information onto real world situation. So it's kind of an overlap, real and virtual. So, for instance, here you have somebody using goggles. You could use spatial goggles, which is what this person is using here, or you could use smartphone and phablet screen. So, this is somebody here standing kind of around a screen. You could see a virtual world and maybe the real world around. This one, the person is doing something on the screen. So, these are all some form of augmented realities. Actually, you are not isolated from the real world. You can always interact and see real world occurrences. What it just does is it gives you two of these worlds uh, by just overlapping information. You see the real one and you see the virtual one. And there was this common game we used to play, like this Pokemon Go. You see, you can see a dinosaur, you see certain animals. Real is like you see the creatures, they look so real to you. So that's just augmented reality. Now the next thing is, how will this impact the future, or in the future where are some areas where we can make use of augmented reality? It's actually being used already. It could be in safety and rescue, entertainment, healthcare, and business. So this emerging technology could be used in this area. So for safety and rescue, for instance, if there's a fire somewhere, probably you could see a virtual part of the building and a real world um, situation of what is happening, and you try to see how maybe the best options and those kind of things before you do the rescue. Also, I think there are more emerging technologies which you can always look up and read more. This computer assisted translation, quantum cryptography, where you can encrypt your passwords, numbers, and whatever. 3D holographic imaging, you create holographic images of people like some form of virtual kind of thing. It shows that you're there, whereas you're not truly there. So you could read more on these emerging technologies and to enhance your knowledge. Um, that is it for this chapter, and that is brings us to the end of chapter one, which is types and components of a computer system. Thank you for watching, and feel free to ask any questions or any requests you might have. See you in the next video.